Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to Paisano's Music and Vinyl Talk. I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Genevieve. Say hello, Genevieve.
Hey, Queens.
I think that's as good as you're going to get. All right. No, luckily the oil burner turned on just in time. Tonight, we're going to talk about U2. U3, U4, U5. U2's Unforgettable Fire, released October the 1st, 1984. It was their fourth studio album, and this was a dramatic shift in style from their previous album, which was War, which will be reviewed later in the channel. I have that on vinyl as well. I know you're looking forward to that one. While we're talking about the channel, now is a good time to talk about subscriptions, don't you think? If you're new to the channel, welcome. What do we talk about?
Rock and roll.
We talk about rock and roll. And if you've been watching for some time and not yet subscribed, shame on you. Shame on you. All right, please subscribe. I love subscriptions. I love comments. And today, before we get started, be a good time to bring this up. I asked Genevieve if she ever heard of U2. And what was your response?
It's probably an old hag band from the dinosaur ages.
An old hag band from the dinosaur ages. Brilliant response. They were only the biggest band in the world for about 5 years. I'd say from 87 to 92, they were probably the biggest band in the world. In a time when fame was unlike the fame of today, if you want to call it that. Pre-internet fame was fame like you've never seen before. I mean, fame, people like Michael Jackson, U2, Madonna, Prince, Bruce Springsteen, they were famous on a level that you just don't see today. And I don't know if it's just there's not that kind of originality anymore, or if I'm sure the internet has a lot to do with it too, because I know there's a lot of talented artists in the world. It's just everything is just too accessible, too widespread, and just too spread out. And fame just isn't what it used to be. But okay, that aside, my rant about the internet. U2's Unforgettable Fire, their fourth studio album, a huge shift from War. War was more of a hard rock album, very big up front, loud guitars, loud drums. This added a little bit of ambience to their sound. When I listened to it, I said, this album has atmosphere to it. They definitely started to stretch out musically, and that was thanks to the production of Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois, who this was their first album collaborating with U2. They were two producers and musicians. Brian Eno made 2 albums with the group Roxy Music back in the early 70s, and then branched out and started to focus more on production. And Daniel Lanois was mainly a producer, and they handled U2 all the way up to Achtung Baby, I think, in 91 or 92. But they said this is where the collaboration started in 1984. All right, it's late. It's late. I believe some sugar is involved here. I'm sure. The facial stylings of Genevieve. All right, this album was recorded at Slane Castle in Ireland. An old castle which is featured on the front cover. Beautiful old castle in Ireland. I really don't know the history of Slane Castle, but it's got a long history, I'm sure. And this produced some hits, more hits than had previously that had come from the previous 3 albums. And this group was obviously on their way up. They were not the worldwide superstars they became just a few short years later. Definitely on their way up, definitely becoming more well-known worldwide. And, this is right around the time they started appearing on MTV more and more, which was a huge for as far as exposure would go. Everybody watched MTV in 1984. It was in its heyday. All right, let's go over the track listing, shall we? Starts off with A Sort of Homecoming, starting and then follows up with Pride, In the Name of Love, Wire, The Unforgettable Fire, and Promenade. Side 2, 4th of July, Bad, Indian Summer Sky, Elvis Presley and America, and MLK, which is a tribute to Martin Luther King. And just a great way to end an album. Very atmospheric, loaded with atmosphere. And Indian Summer Sky is a song you never hear on the radio, but it's probably my favorite song off the album. My favorite early U2 song. Bad is a great, this is obviously the studio cut, but performed live for many, many years. It probably still is performed by them. About heroin addicts in the ghetto that they grew up in Ireland. A Sort of Homecoming and Pride, and The Unforgettable Fire, all singles off of this album. And on the back is them outside Slane Castle, and the lyrics for A Sort of Homecoming on the back. They actually had a little more money at this point. They were able to spend some money on packaging. As you can see, there's an inner sleeve and a very atmospheric shot outside Slane Castle with the members of U2 kind of blurred out in the front there. What else can I say about this? I bought this a long time ago, probably at Quincy Records in Quincy, Massachusetts. It's kind of a newer album at that point. Probably bought it in 85 or 86. That was my big record buying phase. I could see CDs were coming in. And I always admired my ex-brother-in-law's vinyl collection. I wanted to build one just like him, and I came pretty damn close. Still buying them to this day. Every once in a while I'll buy a vinyl album. Alright, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. What will Paisano dig up next week? Tune in Monday for the album draw. Get out the old Pittsburgh Pirates hat. Look at all those albums just waiting to be reviewed. Tune in Monday for the album draw. Alright, thank you and good night, YouTube. Say good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.